episode today. It was really great listening to everybody. Great to seeing Cameron and Mike and Polly and Andre and Tom and Arum on there. It was just a great time, and I had to go in and out, but it was fun. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about this came up, so I want to talk about it about what could be going on with why the Book of Boba Fett seems off. Okay, this thing started filming early. I don't think it's been that long. I don't have my dates correct, but I don't think it's been that long that it was in post production. Okay, I think it wrapped this summer, and you know, my theory is that they were in a hurry to get something for Disney Plus. Stands. Oh, and please hit the likes. We do the likes here, please. I love this. There's something about Mary here. This is so great. Anyway, that they might have been in a hurry to get something for Disney Plus. The writing seemed off. It only has half the budget of The Mandalorian. Okay, but that shouldn't bother people. Here's my take. When they were filming, and this is something somebody brought up on the panel at Midnight's Edge, and I started thinking, I think I remember seeing where they shut down a couple times because the beer bug clause came and dropped presence amongst them. I think the lockdowns and restrictions, like you could only have 10 people in a scene at the time, which is why when you see Fett in the palace, it just doesn't seem. He should be surrounded by attendants and hangers on, like Jabba was, so you don't see him with all these people. Max Rebo should be playing music, and maybe Boba Fett doesn't want that. I don't know. So we got that stuff going on, and it just seems to me that the fact that it's off could be because of all the crap that was going down last summer. And this was, after the election, after all this stuff, and they were still freaking out about something they can't stop or help. Okay, so anyway, that is an interesting thing, and add the what was going on with the beer bug and the restrictions, and then add Disney being in a hurry to get something out there. I think that really helped. But let's talk about the story group. Were they involved? Well, sorry, I gotta do it. I'm sorry, guys. It's driving me nuts. We see a woman named Carrie Beck, who, by all accounts, is a very nice person, who sat in when they were writing it. Now, Jon Favreau is credited as a sole writer, but there were other writers involved. But the story group has always been a bone of contention and a very hard entity to get anything decent out of. I'm going to say this. I think the only real Star Wars fan within the story group is Leland Chee, and he's a very nice guy. He's literally, if you have questions, I would never ask Pablo, I would ask Leland. Pablo would be the last person because he doesn't know everything. And when you see him talk, he doesn't know everything. So let's talk about the story group, because we have to if any of them were involved. Carrie Beck. She, it looks like, took over for Carrie Hart, the little tiny black lady that suddenly disappeared and is now working for Ryan Johnson. The last time I looked. Carrie Beck, and you have a lady named Diana Williams, and you have Leland Chee, Pablo Hidalgo, Matt Martin, Rain Roberts, who is one of the developers of The Acolyte. Steve Blank, James Waugh, Josh Rhimes, Stephen Fetter, Cara Pardo, and Emily Shikokin. Remember how we all thought, hey Knut, remember how we all thought they were all women? Story group looks like it's all guys now. Good evening, John. What's going on here? So we know that Carrie Beck, or Carrie Hart's gone. Carrie Beck, I do believe, is also kind of assisting Dave Filoni, or she was. Maybe she's not anymore. Okay, so there's that. But that might have affected the writing. Okay, and we'd heard that when they were coming up with the idea for The Mandalorian, they took a lot of the Boba Fett stuff and put it in The Mandalorian. So they were a character without a story. So they had to go back and redesign it. There's a lot in the EU to Boba Fett that they could have used. And it looks like they are. But that, with the COVID, the fact that it seems off, because, and I still say Disney plus Beer Bug plus really not knowing what they were gonna do. Baz, didn't you know that? Oh, she left Lucasfilm in 2018. Everybody was looking for her. She disappeared from the website, from the Lucasfilm website, so people started looking around. And, it was, that was like a huge kerfuffle with what was going on. And it was a victory for the fans. We didn't get to celebrate. Because she's a horrible person. I mean, she's just, the woman who leads Black Lives Matters? Carrie Hart's worse. Okay, so bye-bye, crazy.
He was eating it.
He was trying to eat it. Put him in there. Anyway, so the story group. Okay, let's talk about Rain Roberts. Rain Roberts is helping Leslie Forehead develop The Acolyte, which is never going to be made. Now, after looking at the memo and reading it for the 5th time, I don't see how somebody who could write that memo would okay a budget of $100 million for an 8-episode series. No, it's not going to happen. But Rain Roberts is part of it. She's a black girl. That picture of Kennedy at her house overlooking Malibu Beach, and all these women are standing. It's so gross. All these women are standing behind her. Rain Roberts was the girl with the long black braids. That was her. I don't know what her contribution is to the story group. I'm sure she was probably the one that said, well, in this Han Solo comic, we should have Leia punch him. Because a princess raised in gentility would do something that's like that. Matt Martin, it's very interesting. I mean, a lot of these people should go. But I see a lot of names I didn't recognize before. I got this list from Wikipedia. Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, Wikipedia. Right off the bat, I think Pablo, Martin, and Roberts need to go. Really, what you do is you send auditors. You guys have seen Office Space, right? Put a one in the chat if you've seen Office Space. What an auditor will do is he'll come in and he'll basically ask, people, employees, what do you do all day? And they have to tell him. And then the auditor will make a recommendation. This guy needs to be fired. This guy, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? What I think Disney needs to do is to go to the story group and do that. Okay? And they also need to look at online behavior. Okay? Rain Roberts had a Twitter account. She's no longer part of it. She deleted all of her tweets. They're gone. Okay? Carrie Beck, I don't think, has one. Leland Chi has one, but he only ever uses it to put information about canon out there. And he's a really nice guy. Okay, I think I just keep him until the rest of them bye. See ya. And Matt Martin, of course, he's been part of the go after the fans. And then last summer, he said something like, well, canon can be anything you want it to be. Or something like that. So it kind of makes you wonder where that came from. Yeah, Mike. Yay, Mike. Mike is here. So, but these other guys, I don't know who they are. And I'm wondering now if they're new. If because I remember there being more females on this. And now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like, I'm gonna count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 guys to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women. And it was supposed to be, hey, age boomer, it was supposed to be more women than men. In fact, I think when it first started, it was. But this looks to me like the story group has changed. It doesn't mean that they all should stay. I mean, I would get rid of Pablo for past egregious offenses. Matt Martin too, and whoever else. It's interesting to note that Carrie Beck was in the writer's room with Jon Favreau. Like he couldn't write a Star Wars script without her. Okay. And why wasn't it Leland Chi instead? People try to connect this all to Kennedy, and I'm not quite ready to say it was her. It's a combination of the story already being told in The Mandalorian. Right? Which is true. I mean, they took what they were going to put in the movie and put it there, and then they decided we should do a Boba Fett show, and they didn't think it through. But you've got the beer bug with shutdowns and people not being able to, the restrictions were insane. Okay, well, again, if you're watching the show and you wonder why Jabba's palace seems so empty, it's because they can't put anybody else on that soundstage. Okay, I mean, the only place to see a lot of people around is when he's walking through the better part of Mos Espa, and that's it. Okay. But I think it also suffered from Disney being in a hurry to put something on Disney Plus. May I remind you how bad Plus Day went? Do you remember that? All this Marvel crap. No Star Wars. We got a semi-teaser trailer for Kenobi, and that was it. Hey, Fett. Nothing about Boba. Nothing. That should tell you a lot. That should tell you that Lucasfilm really wasn't ready to put anything out there. Oh, I agree, Mexican Iron Man. I mean, I'm like, I don't. Yeah, I've talked to him a couple times on Instagram. He wouldn't remember me. You know, he's just a really nice guy. And I think that if anybody should be leading the story group, if you have to have one, it should probably be him. You know, but Pablo, and I touched on, it is the story group's responsibility and their fault that we got Claudia Gray, that we got E.K. Johnston, that we got Justina Ireland, Kevin Scott, Charles Soule, or Soul, or however you pronounce his name, Chuck Wendig, and oh God, who's the guy? He's a British twit who wrote, sorry, Baz, the Force Collector. And it was just awful, just awful. It's just so, the story group, just on that alone, should probably be removed from the company. These authors are not Star Wars authors. They're not of the caliber of Zahn and Anderson and Deming, and others. A.C. Crispin, you name it. They're not that caliber of author. And it goes without saying that part of the reason why I think that the High Republic is failing, and it is, they're already into their second wave and no one cares. Do you care? I don't care either. It's all very interesting to me that these guys can still keep their jobs. And really, which leads me to my last topic. And I'll probably go back and forth between them. A lot of people built strong followings because of the treatment fans received at the hands of Pablo, his wife, Matt Martin, and others at Lucasfilm. When you go and look through Disney Star Wars is Dumb, the blog that Itchy Baka kept, it is unfathomable how these people survive so long. Okay, not just because they're putting out substandard product. Okay, it's their behavior. All right. Pablo Hidalgo going on podcasts and without really going through PR. You know what I'm saying? There should be a system where if you work for an organization like that you have to say, I was invited on this podcast. What do I say? What should I be prepared for? Okay. That's the only way to do it. And he just went on these things. The way he treated fans when the EU was trashed. Before TLJ came out, when it was being filmed. Star Wars fans are going to theorize and guess and watch things really closely to see where the filmmaker might have put something, just because that's what we do, and come up with theories. And I'm going to call out Steele Saunders. You guys know who he is. He runs Steel Wars, that channel. And he basically sent out these stickers that said, your Snoke theory sucks. To Rian Johnson and Pablo, Lucasfilm, and they both posed with them. Of course, there's the unhinged lunacy on Twitter that Hidalgo, on one of his former accounts, would daily plunge into. Which is interesting. Daily Plunge is one of his troll accounts. Maybe he's watching this and going, oh shit, how'd she find that out? Not very difficult when you got people looking for you. It's very interesting to me watching this now, how this could play out, because let's put it this way. If you've made your mark on Star Wars fandom by liking nothing, not even being willing to discuss what's going on in a show, and your claim to fame is, I haven't seen it, but I hate it. You know, now, you take away Pablo, you take away Martin, you take away all the people that caused trouble. Kennedy resigns or retires. Part of the talking point that the black pills have will go away, all right? Not being willing to talk about a show like the Book of Boba Fett, because as off as it seems, it's still not bad. Okay, it's not. I just watched the first 3 episodes again, and I gotta say, I enjoy it. And the reason why is because in order to know what's going on in Star Wars now, yes, I used to have a Twitter account. Okay, I don't want to talk about it. You should probably be familiar with not only the original trilogy, but the prequels, the Clone Wars, and even Rebels. Okay, and you should be familiar with the EU. There was a KOTOR reference in the last episode. Okay, the story has gotten huge. The fans have not thought about it that way. My thumbnail for this kind of stands to reason, okay? And it kind of makes sense. Last time we saw Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi, Han had inadvertently hit him with the gaffy stick. He goes flying, breaks the jetpack, goes out of control, goes flying into the sailbards, hits it, goes flying down, rolls into the Sarlacc pit. All right? Not a momentous way for a guy like that to die. All right? And because he was such a popular character, they brought him back. And we got to explore where he came from in the prequels. Now, there's a guy who's got a YouTube channel. Yep, it did, Maze. It did. There's a guy who's got a YouTube channel named Rick Worley. And if Rick or H Boomer wants to put a link to the video that I gave to Maze, or the one where Worley's talking about why people didn't understand the Clone Wars, because people aren't well versed and kind of movie illiterate, and even people who call themselves knowledgeable about Star Wars are illiterate when it comes to Star Wars. Okay. When you watch a show, you gotta watch the little things. Okay? You've gotta watch the little things. When Fett comes up out of the sand, he's covered with goo. That's Sarlacc. That's part of the enzymes and acids everybody has them. When you eat something, your stomach has enzymes and acids in it, and that's what helps you digest food. Okay, so he's covered in that. And why does he? And then you got to ask yourself. You look at the dripping coming off his armor. Thank you. Thanks, Maze. You watch what's coming off of his armor. You got to think, okay, he's coming up with all this. Why is he in the Bacta tank? Because he is suffering, probably, from the after effects of being stuck in that thing for, a week? Tales from Jabba's Palace has a version of Boba Fett escaping the Sarlacc. You can look at the different versions as a legend. Like, they said this way, but it came, you know what I'm saying? Everybody has their own story about how he did it. We all just know he did it, but how? And he spent quite a bit of time in that thing trying to get out. And he was out of his mind half the time. Because what the Sarlacc does is as it digests people and animals, if they're sentient beings like us, it will keep their consciousness. So you will have that, and he thinks he's actually talking to the Sarlacc, and he's not. He's talking to a Jedi that have been sucked up into it and couldn't get out. Okay? And that's also something to think about. Are we going to find out more about that? Or are we just, we see him going to the Bacta tank to heal. Okay. Are his lungs affected? What else is hurt on him? We know that the desert ravaged his skin. All right, we know that. But it was more than that. If you've ever had heartburn and you taste the acid in the back of your throat, that's acid. That's from your stomach, and that's acid, and it burns. Okay, I don't need to explain any more than that. I don't think. But not being able to watch the show. Hey Nutters, how you doing? Without complaining about it. Or my favorite, never have seen the show. Hey Troy. And saying they hate it bothers me. And it usually starts with people who, they're hurt bad. Having a conversation with somebody else today, and we were talking about a friend of ours, and talking about how Kennedy hurt that person. What people feel, what I think John Favreau would understand this. I think George Lucas would understand this. I think a lot of people would. I think Mark Hamill would. What Kennedy failed to understand is how deeply ingrained and powerful the heroes from the original trilogy were in our lives. And each of us looked at them in our own way. Drunk deadbeat dad Han Solo was like a knife in my stomach. Leia Poppins was like a knife in my stomach. I took that personally. I took Luke lonely want to kill himself and die and living on an island was like a knife to my stomach. Okay. First off, it's bad writing. Second of all, it's taking these iconic mythological characters and curb stomping them into the ground. For no reason, then there were new characters coming up, and these iconic characters always sucked up the air every time they were in the room. Like, I remember Pablo saying, I liked The Force Awakens till I saw a certain character show up. And somebody asked, well, who? And he goes, Han. And I'm like, first off, people didn't go to The Force Awakens to see the bestest ever and the mule-faced boy. Okay, we didn't give a shit about them. And guess what? We don't now. Okay? They failed at their mission to make those characters important because they suck so bad. The reason why we went is to see Harrison Ford as Han Solo. That character was the moment he broke out and became part of our daily conversation. Okay? That, despite what he used to think of the character, that character means, I think, more to people in the culture. Hey, Misha. That character is more dear, I think, to the cultural consciousness than Indiana Jones, and I love Indy. I love Indy. But Han, he was the first time we a lot of us have became aware of Harrison Ford, even though I'm sure we'd seen him in TV shows. He was in Kung Fu, Gunsmoke several times, and some other TV shows. So we'd seen him, but not in this way. This was a guy who should have been a movie star a decade before he became one. Okay, and you can't just take a character like that has meant the world to hundreds of millions of people across the globe and beat the shit out of him like that. The same way with Luke. I mean, you know, when I'll watch EBN and they recorded all the reactions of Luke showing up to save the day, and you know, the episode's called The Rescue, and you know, it's like, you know, you can't contain the rage people have when they see somebody. See, iconic figures like that, they're not just characters in a movie. They stay with you. They become part of who you are. And I was 9 years old. So, you know, and I had heroes like Vince Lombardi and the, you know, 1960s Packers, because the Packers sucked so bad when I was a kid. You know, horses like Ruffian and Seattle Slew. But I didn't have any heroes like that until Star Wars. And when you take those heroes and deliberately do what they did to them, and they didn't expect people to get mad, people who collect this stuff, people who have money to stay at that stupid hotel, people, all right? When you deliberately go out to hurt your fan base, and then you wonder why you're not making any money, or pretend it doesn't matter, or you get upset when they get mad. What they did to Han and Luke was malicious. What they did to Leia was malicious. You know, I mean, I still can't wrap my mind around Rian Johnson thinking that was a good idea. I spoke to Coach, but not Nick. You know, I talked a couple of days ago. So when you've got these feelings of emotion, and the character's Luke, finally being shown in the light the fans expected and wanted to see. And Pablo Hidalgo goes, emotions aren't for sharing. And he meant it as a jab, not just to Star Wars theory, but to all of us. That was a bullshit move. And he should have been fired immediately. Why is he still there, if he is still there? Okay. And because I'll tell you, if he goes, you will see a lot of channels having to find something else to talk about. Okay? I mean, there will the usual suspects will say yeah, but a shiny object. Yeah, I didn't mean it. You know, I mean, what? How do you apologize for that? You know, I don't. But if the shiny object is taken away, Kennedy, the story group, and a public kind of repentance, and I think the start of it was with Luke, happens, I really think that a lot of the black pills won't have anything to talk about. I mean, they'll make up stuff to talk about. But I have to be honest. I think the hate going on without any rational thought, without any real deep discussion of what they've seen on the screen, if they've seen it even. I think they would have to find something else to talk about. If you go to the Rick Worley video and watch it, he basically calls out fans who are attacking the prequel trilogy and calls them illiterate. And now I have no problem calling a lot of the black pills, even the ones that are like, I know the EU like the back of my hand. They're illiterate. They are. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what to look for. If you say that you know the story in the EU of Boba Fett, it's like, which one? They're like 5. There are like 5 different ways he escaped from the Sarlacc pit. They're, you know, if you want to know about him, you should find out. You should actually do your work. Hey, Holocron Jedi. It's just really unfathomable to me. Or people that said, well, I hated the prequels, and I haven't seen the Clone Wars. Okay. I'm not going to talk about Star Wars with you anymore then, because you only know a little bit of the story. Star Wars isn't about Luke; it's about Anakin. And that's, I always tell people, if you want to know Star Wars, watch episodes 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and then 6, and then you'll get what George said, what George meant. And then you got to watch the Clone Wars, because a lot of the lore that George and Dave came up with in the Clone Wars is in the shows. Okay, would not have an Ahsoka TV show without it. All right. And Kenobi, I'm sure we're going to see, you know, Captain Rex and a few other Clone Wars people showing up, and Rebels too, because this is going to be about the timeline Rebels takes place. We might even see Ezra Bridger. We might even see, you know, who knows who we're going to see. Okay, so if you're going to be a fan and you want to talk about it, you should be familiar with all of it, okay? Because the reason why I like Boba Fett is because I see a lot of the stuff that I've read, looked up, contemplated, seen in Clone Wars coming up. You know, I see that. And it's very interesting to me seeing how the guy that played Aladdin, I think, Boomer, I think he's got the part. And Lars Mikkelsen is playing Admiral Thrawn. So that's cool, you know. But no, I haven't, John. But I mean, here's the deal. 30 years ago, people could sit through a TV show like Boba Fett and like it because they paid attention and they were familiar with everything going on. They were familiar with the story. And I really think the internet, I really think a lot of the Marvel stuff has really hurt the way people watch movies. But don't take that just from me. See what this guy Worley has to say in that link, because it's a long show. Video, but he calls people out. Red Letter Media and some other people who are just, I think I keep her for a movie, Baz. I think I keep her for a movie just because that's a character that I don't know how she'd go over though. Because casual fans wouldn't understand where that came from. Part of the reason why we didn't get Matt Smith as the son is because I'm sure Kennedy saw, you know, what they filmed with him, and we're like, I don't understand what this is. Where's my emperor? You know, But I think the casuals would probably would have liked him and asked their friends who are not normies, but geeks like us, who is that? Why? What? And, but if you bring the sun in, you almost have to bring the wills in, which is another completely insane concept that George came up with. And people were complaining in the prequels, well, who are the wills and midichlorians and just did they forget that Star Wars is a story of the story of Luke Skywalker and the Star Wars as told in the Journal of the Wills. They've been part of canon since the very beginning. Okay? Some people bitch about that. It's like, well, tell George that. He thought of that decades and decades ago. Okay? It's very interesting to me hearing people talk about this and realizing they don't know what they're talking about. They're illiterate with the story. My favorite Star Wars YouTuber, I think this Rick Worley is one of them. Coach and Nick. Star Wars Theory, as much as I like him, he's kind of a shill for the ST too. He won't, because he's afraid to say, I don't like it. He doesn't like it. You know it. But anyway, I've been on for some 40 minutes now, and I'm gonna rock. So, because I want to sit and relax a little bit. So you guys all have a good day, a good Martin Luther King Day. And, I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe I'll upload and go live. Maybe I'll just upload, or maybe I'll just go live. I don't know. But if something happens, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here. Thanks, John. And you guys all have a good one. Bye, Maze. Bye, Mike. Bye, Troy. Bye, Boomer. Bye, Netters. See you around the galaxy. Star Wars Theory is not Tim Pool. I'll see you guys later.